Hello friends, welcome back to our YouTube channel. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. I'll share our videos commanded by our experts, so let's begin.
If you like, please like, share and subscribe. So let's begin our today's topic. Let's begin.
For decades, enterprise architecture has been strictly divided into two domains, where we communicate and where we store our structured work. This artificial separation creates constant cognitive and operational friction, forcing users to continuously context switch and manually drag information between their inbox and their active databases. Solving this requires implementing cross-domain contextual retrieval, the ability to query structured files and unstructured communications simultaneously. Google has officially deployed this capability by integrating Gmail thread data directly into the Drive ecosystem via Gemini. This diagram illustrates the new unified architecture. Rather than relying on isolated communications and storage databases, a central Gemini node forms a direct bridge, enabling unified semantic search without requiring users to switch applications. We'll analyze the specific retrieval mechanics, map the strict privacy firewall, and detail the exact deployment sequence. Breaking these data silos moves the search boundary from individual applications to a unified, context-aware architecture. The workflow begins with the user positioned inside a target folder within Google Drive. To initiate a cross-platform query, the user accesses the newly integrated Ask Gemini side panel. In this diagram, the central Gemini node actively parses structured data packets from a Drive document and an unstructured Gmail thread simultaneously. By merging these into a single unified text block, the system removes the operational need to manually copy and paste between tabs. A highly effective use case for this simultaneous parsing is the generation of folder summaries. When you query a specific folder, the system receives a prompt to actively seek out and pull in related external email threads. The resulting synthesis is then rendered natively right inside the Drive side panel interface. This keeps the synthesized information completely centralized, located next to your active files. Through this contextual retrieval, previously fragmented data sources are pulled together to generate a complete project overview. Automating this retrieval removes the need to manually cross-reference data across separate communication and storage platforms. Before authorizing this integration, enterprise teams must address the risk of corporate data leakage when utilizing large language models. Google addresses this security risk through an architectural mandate known as Inference Isolation. This diagram maps the isolated data flow. Workspace queries are routed into a tightly constrained bounding box. A thick, impermeable red barrier forms a perimeter, blocking data from reaching the foundational Gemini models. Personal workspace data is never used to train public datasets. The system utilizes this isolated data locally, solely to customize the specific query results for that individual user. This strict isolation guarantees that proprietary communications in Gmail remain firewalled, while Drive documents retain their exact pre-existing access permissions. True enterprise AI deployment relies on this mathematical guarantee of data isolation, rather than a standard corporate promise of privacy. Deploying this integration in a live environment requires meeting strict operational requirements. First, an eligible Workspace business tier. Second, an active Google AI subscription. Third, execute the exact activation path. This layout mockup shows Step 1. The user must navigate directly to the primary Google Drive interface, bringing the right-hand functional column into focus. Step 2. The user locates the upper right corner of the interface. Step 3. Click the glowing Ask Gemini star icon detailed in this graphic. This specific input is required to deploy the central side panel interface. Step 4. The user inputs a natural language query directly into the panel. To engage the integration, the prompt must explicitly instruct the system to cross-reference the active file with a known email thread. The immediate operational output is the synthesized summary populating inside the side panel. This entire execution sequence relies fully on the front-end UI and requires zero back-end API configuration from the IT administrator. Deploying this cross-platform intelligence requires both clearing specific licensing gates and executing a standardized workflow. Standard enterprise workflows have long been bottlenecked by the friction of artificial data silos. This diagram demonstrates the solution. The Gemini side panel successfully acts as a unified bridge, seamlessly passing data packets back and forth between Gmail and Drive database modules. Combining these sources reduces the cognitive load required for complex project management. This operational efficiency relies upon an inference firewall, isolating your queries from the public internet. No workspace data is ever exposed to train foundational models. Enterprise IT administrators must immediately audit their current Google Workspace licensing tiers. Verify if your specific user base meets the mandatory Google AI Premium or Ultra requirements. Once authorized, users should then execute the simple step-by-step side panel activation sequence directly within their own live day-to-day work environments. Physically test the system's capabilities by generating a folder summary based on your own recent complex communications. Ultimately, enterprise intelligence now functions through secure cross-platform retrieval, effortlessly integrating disparate data types into a single unified query environment. This is a topological view of a standard enterprise cloud. Historically, a rigid dividing line has separated these two data clusters, the unstructured communication history in the Gmail corpus and the structured files in the Drive corpus. Maintaining this isolation creates a specific operational friction. When project details evolve in an email thread, the associated documents in storage do not update automatically, requiring the user to bridge that context manually. This bridging requires constant context switching, opening separate tabs, locating threads, and verifying instructions. Google addressed this by integrating the Gmail corpus directly into the Gemini panel within Drive, providing simultaneous access to both environments. By placing this node between the two clusters, a single query can now scan both datasets. The interface uses the email context to inform the results generated within the file storage environment. This integration moves the workflow away from passive file management. A user can now query cross-platform context directly from the primary file list. This entry point is located within the Google Drive interface. Clicking the Gemini star icon in the upper right corner activates the retrieval layer. The primary technical question is how automated cross-platform context synthesis handles complex data retrieval compared to traditional manual bridging. To understand this, we will deconstruct the logical steps the system takes when summarizing the contents of a multi-file project folder. We will also map the specific mechanics required to cross-reference multi-model data, specifically how unstructured email text is applied to structured document analysis. We will use a deconstruction of results approach, examining the generated output and tracing the data pathways back to their original sources. Navigating this underlying architecture is necessary for enterprise users to utilize the tool beyond basic search functions and perform more complex data retrieval. This expanded panel on the right-hand side of the screen is the Ask Gemini interface. It is the specific front-end mechanism driving this integration. Placing the interface directly next to the file list creates a centralized workflow. The query tool and the files occupy the same visual space. This removes the legacy requirement of maintaining separate tabs to verify email instructions against document drafts. The side panel functions as a persistent query layer. It remains accessible as the user navigates through different folders and subdirectories within the Drive. Queries are constructed directly within this panel using natural language, allowing for specific requests regarding the active workspace. Crucially, a query executed inside this panel has simultaneous read access to the user's external Gmail inbox. The side panel effectively serves as a command terminal for querying a user's entire digital workspace footprint from a single location. We can examine this through a common use case, generating an overview for a multi-file deployment folder. The prompt command is specific. Summarize the contents of this folder. This command triggers compound retrieval summarization. The system must pull from two different data types. In step 1, it scans the static documents residing inside the Drive folder, extracting basic facts like project specs or deadlines. In step 2, the system searches for contextual email threads related to the folder, identifying recent approvals. The system then merges these data streams, combining the static files with the communication context to create a single narrative. The output includes embedded citations, allowing the user to trace a specific summary point back to either the source file or the source email. Without this cross-referencing, a folder summary would only reflect the stored documents, missing the context of the active conversation surrounding them. Compound Retrieval allows a static repository of files to function as a context-aware project management tool. We can also apply this logic to targeted item-level tasks. Consider a scenario involving two nodes. Node A is a Gmail thread containing client feedback, and Node B is a Google Doc containing a project proposal. A user can prompt the system to evaluate the proposal in Node B specifically against the feedback contained in Node A. During the extraction phase, the system isolates actionable critiques from the email thread. It identifies what the client requested that may be missing from the draft. In the application phase, the system overlays these requirements onto the text of the Drive document to identify specific discrepancies. The final output is a list of targeted action items. These items provide the exact steps needed to update the Drive document based on the Gmail context. This targeted capability helps ensure project files are updated using the most recent communication data available. For technical architects, the primary concern is the security and privacy implications of allowing an intelligence layer to access interconnected data. Access to this feature is currently restricted to Google Workspace business customers and those with a OneAI premium subscription. Retrieval occurs within an isolated processing environment. This boundary keeps Drive and email data contained in a secure perimeter. Queries remain isolated to ensure customized results. Finally, a firewall prevents internal data from reaching public foundational models. Google's protocol states that internal enterprise data queried through this integration is not used to train public Gemini models. Furthermore, retrieval is governed by existing workspace permissions. The system cannot access or summarize any file or email that the user does not already have the authority to view. This architecture provides the security necessary for deploying cross-platform context synthesis in an enterprise environment. The integration of Gmail and Drive marks a shift in how workspace data is accessed, moving from siloed applications to a centralized retrieval point. Compound retrieval summarization allows for the generation of project overviews that reflect both stored files and active discussions.
Targeted cross-referencing provides a method for generating action items backed by specific communication context. This workflow is executed from a single side panel, consolidating the tools needed to manage a digital workspace. Workspace administrators should verify subscription eligibility to determine if this feature is available for their environment. Eligible users can start their first query by engaging the Gemini star icon within the Google Drive interface. Mastering this retrieval mechanism allows for the active interrogation of an interconnected digital workspace.